Let's log back onto the server Pegasus and implement specific rules for specific protocols and ports. Alright, I'm back on the server of the Pegasus. I've left the client, the Galactica, and remember we had added our, sort of our catch-all. And so it's actually just blocking all of our traffic if I list, here. And so, I don't want to, it's okay to add that at the end, but I need to make sure I have rules before that that allow the specific services, on the ports and the protocols that I actually want to allow into my server. So, and right now we're just, we're kind of focusing on the input chain. So not really doing a lot of routing, so we don't have to use forward, and we're not working with the output yet. So just on the input chain, I need to, delete that. And I could do that two ways. Since there's only one rule, and I don't care if I dump all the other rules in other chains, I could use sudo iptables-f, and I could flush it. But if I did have multiple rules and I only wanted to delete one and I didn't want to flush everything else, then my other option would be I could do sudo iptables-d delete and specify the rule number. So in this case, since it's it's the first rule there, that's the only number of the rule that I have. And I'm just going to flush it. So sudo iptables-f. And then if I list it again, now notice I have no rules applied. So at this point, again, I would be able to, I'd be able to access all my services, but I'm not actually filtering or blocking anything. So the first thing I want to do is let's add a rule for the web server. We're looking at HTTP traffic over port 80, right? So iptables. Oops, almost forgot my sudo. Getting into Fedora Red Hat mode. Sudo iptables. And let me go ahead and append this rule. I want to add it to the input chain. I want to specify an action with -j. I want to accept as opposed to drop. It's good to be accepted, isn't it? I've been rejected all my life. It's good to be accepted. Anyway. Alright, so the protocol I want to specify with the -p option is the Transmission Control Protocol, TCP. And I'm going to specify destination port 80 in this case, and I'm going to specify the interface. And remember, on this system, it's enumerated as or labeled as ETH2. Alright, so I want to accept incoming packets and requests there. And then let me add another rule to specify SSL. So I'm going to specify basically 443 there. And that would allow, HTTPS or secure web traffic over secure sockets layer. And the next one that I want to specify, in this case, I'll just hit the up arrow, but destination port 20 and 21. So again, my protocol is the same. It's Transmission Control Protocol, destination port, and I'm going to do 20, specify the same interface. And I also need 21. So sort of a dual port protocol, the file transfer protocol. So that takes care of web and that takes care of FTP. Now what about secure shell? What about telnet? If I were going to do secure shell, that's port 22. So I'm going to specify a rule input for port 22. And last but not least, let me specify a rule for telnet, which is simply port 23. Alright, I'm just hitting the up arrow here to kind of saves me a bit of typing. Hopefully it saves you a bit of boredom. But again, remember the syntax. I need root privileges, sudo iptables command, a to append a rule, specify the chain, in this case one of the three built-in, or user-defined, but I'm using a built-in input. -j specifies an action. What are you going to do? Accept, drop. We're accepting. -p to specify the port. Well, it's TCP, Transmission Control Protocol. The -- destination port specifies, the port for the incoming packet, what it's requesting, the service, particular service it's requesting. And then -i to specify the interface. Well, if I had a routing server, I'd have more than one NIC card. It'd be multi-honed. That would be very important. But I only have one NIC interface here, ETH2. So that's pretty much my only option here. Okay, so if I were to look at this, I'm going to clear this and let me look at my rules so far. So sudo iptables, and I'm just going to do -l and list my rules. Alright, so now you can see all of my rules here. Now, notice I'm not specifically blocking anything that does not conform to this. And so the problem with that is it's just going to let the packets through. So here's where I need to add my catch-all. This is where I actually have to need to insert my catch-all. And so to do that, following my catch-all is going to be to simply drop packets that don't conform to any of the previously added rules. And to do that, I'd say sudo iptables. And again, I just want to specify a to append. I'm going to throw this into the built-in input chain, -j to specify an action. And this time I'm going to drop, instead of accept, -p for the protocol, transmission control protocol, specify the interface, which would be ETH2. And let me go ahead and clear that, and I'll do a -l and list. Alright, so here are all my rules accepting packets, allowing them through. And then here's my catch-all right here at the bottom of my input chain. Okay? So with this set up the way it is, let's go over to, we're going to go, hop over on the Galactica and test our server and see what packets iptables is actually letting through with these rules being applied the way they are and the catch-all being applied the way it is. Let's log off the server Pegasus and onto the client Galactica to test our specific iptables rules applied to the input chain. Okay, we've left our server, the Pegasus, and now we're on our client, the Galactica. We want to test, again, just our iptables rules that we applied to the input chain. Remember that we set up rules that we should have allowed HTTP traffic over port 80, we should have allowed FTP traffic over ports 20 and 21, we should allow secure shell traffic over port 22, and telnet traffic over port 23. So let's test those services now. So the first one, we'll just open a web browser, we'll test port 80. So let's see if we can't access the web server, Apache 2 web server, that's on Pegasus. Okay, so the firewall, the first rule there, allows this traffic through. Seeing as how it's pulling the traffic over the port 80. Now let's try to FTP, and 192.168.13 and 13. Alright, and there's our banner. And I'm going to go ahead and try anonymous. And okay, log in, no problem there. Alright, so there's ports 20 and 21. There's our second rule. Let's try our third rule, which was secure shell. So SSH 192.168.13.13. And let me put the password in. Okay, so we successfully logged in via secure shell. And let me exit out of here. And now let's try, that was our third rule. Let's try our fourth rule. So, which was port 23. And we're just going to telnet, access the net daemon, 192.168.13.13. Okay. And okay. And need to restart the server to complete the installation of telnet there, but we verified that the firewall works. So everything's good there. We've tested everything. So let's go back to the Pegasus and work some more with these rules.